Well, let's go to Nashville, Tennessee now, because John Lott is there, an academic and writer, also an anti-gun control advocate. John Lott, thank you very much indeed for your time. What do you say to people who believe there should be greater gun control in the United States?
Well, you can look around the world. Europe obviously tends to have much more gun control than the United States does, and yet on a per capita rate, the rate of multiple victim public shootings in Europe is similar to what we see in the United States. But I think most telling here is that where the attack occurred, as where all these other attacks seem to occur, and that is it took place in an area where guns were banned. The movie theater had signs up that said law-abiding citizens were not allowed to legally take their guns in there. And what you do when you have those types of bans is that rather than stopping these attacks from occurring, you unintentionally make them magnets for attacks. Just think of it this way. Suppose a violent criminal was stalking you or your family, was really seriously threatening you. Would you feel safer putting a sign up in front of your home that said this home is a gun-free zone? Would it make it less likely the criminal would come in to attack, or more? And I think most people realize that what you're telling this armed criminal is that he has less to worry about if he goes in there and attacks you in your home, because there's no way you're going to be able to defend yourself.
But in terms of these mass killings, surely gun control, having a gun, simply makes it easier to perpetrate a crime like that. That's a simple fact, surely.
That's exactly true. Having a gun does make it easier to go and kill people, but having a gun also makes it easier for you to stop those attacks from occurring. The problem is that when you ban guns, who obeys the law? It's the law-abiding good citizens, not the person who's going to go and commit a crime. It's a perfect example with this case. Guns were banned from this movie theater. All the law-abiding citizens in that movie theater obeyed the law, even though about 5% of the adult population in Colorado has a permit to legally carry a concealed handgun. No one in the movie theater broke the law who was a law-abiding citizen.
It is undoubtedly true. It is undoubtedly true, surely, that most of these events are not prevented by individual citizens having guns. You don't get an individual citizen shooting a shooter in return.
They don't have to shoot. A lot of these attacks have been stopped. The Appalachian Law School in Virginia.
But by law enforcement officers?
No, by civilians. By civilians. It doesn't get much. About a quarter of the public school shootings in the United States have been stopped by citizens carrying concealed handguns before the police arrived. Look at the very first of these public school shootings in Pearl, Mississippi. It was in October 1997. It was stopped by a vice principal there at the school, a guy named Joel Myrick, who had a permit to carry a concealed handgun. Paducah, Kentucky, Santee, California, other places. You have multiple victim public shootings at the big mega church a few years ago.
Okay, listen, I take your point. Tell me if you think it would be too much of an infringement of people's civil liberties if there were security checks in almost all public venues, say sporting venues, cinemas, public transport. Would that be too much for people to take?
Well, you're not going to solve the problem. When you have somebody who can go and plan this for 4 months, as this person did, they're going to find ways around these types of things. You can ban guns, you can do other types of things that could also affect civil liberties, but you have to realize that when you're talking about a large venue like that, there are going to be so many possible ways for somebody to go in. You know, in this case, the guy was able to come in through locked emergency doors in the back. And the question is, there's so many possible entrances, it's very difficult for somebody who's planning in advance to go and offer that type of protection.
So how do you solve the problem? Is it more a societal issue about why people carry it out rather than how they carry out attacks like this?
Well, let me give you one simple fact, and that is if you look at all the multiple victim public shootings in the United States from the end of World War II up until now, every one that's involved more than 3 people killed, except for one attack, has all occurred in gun-free zones. All but one. That means, you know, and so what you're having to ask yourself is why are all these attacks occurring in places where guns are banned? It's not by accident when you have all but one of all these attacks that you can think of. You name an attack in which more than 3 people have been killed, and with one exception, they've all taken place in areas where guns are banned.
All right.
How is that random?
John Lott, we appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us from Nashville, Tennessee.